I took my mom out of a nursing home and moved her into my house. My wife was angry but pretended to be fine. One day, I came home to find Mom alone, soiled, crying, the door locked from outside. My wife walked in from the garden and said, "She's not my responsibility." I didn't say a word. That night, I set up cameras. What I caught over the next week made me call my lawyer first thing Monday. I don't even know how to start this. I'm not really the kind of guy who posts on here, but I can't talk to anyone about this. My friends wouldn't get it, and my family, well, let's just say most of them were too busy to care when all this was happening. So here it is. I'm a 45-year-old guy living in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I work full-time maintenance at a manufacturing plant. Long hours, not glamorous, but it pays the bills. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for 17 years. She's 43, worked part-time at a flower shop. No kids. Melissa said she wasn't ready for that responsibility. I accepted that. I thought she was just being honest. My mom, Jolene, is 72. She's always been strong, the kind of woman who raised 3 boys while working nights at a factory. My dad died 5 years ago, heart attack in his sleep. After that, Mom started slipping. She'd forget her meds, lose track of the days, sometimes leave the stove on. I hired a homemaid, but it got worse. She'd wander outside at night in her robe or forget how to use the microwave. We tried for almost 2 years to keep her in her home, but the doctor eventually said she needed full-time care. I put her in a nursing home. It killed me to do it. Every time I visited, she'd put on a brave face. But I could tell. She wasn't okay. The place looked clean, but the staff was stretched thin. I saw bed sores. Once, she had bruises on her arms and no one could tell me what happened. Another time I came in and she was in the wrong room, confused, just sitting on someone else's bed. No one noticed. I started thinking, if this was me, if I was old and helpless, what would I want my son to do? I knew the answer. So I brought her home. We had a spare room on the first floor. I cleaned it out, painted the walls, put in a new bed, TV, a lamp with a dimmer, everything. I put a bell on the nightstand and told her if she ever needed anything, just ring. I set reminders for meds. I printed out a daily schedule. I even bought adult diapers and kept her stocked with fresh clothes. I told Melissa I was bringing Mom home. She stared at me and said, "Really? Are you sure?" I said, "Yes. I'm not letting her rot in that place." She smiled. Tight. Cold. "Okay. She's your mom." I should have known right then. For the first few days, things felt manageable. I took time off work to help Mom settle in. She had bad days, confused, sometimes scared. But she smiled more. She held my hand at dinner. She told me she liked the curtains I put in her room. I was exhausted, but I felt good. Melissa stayed out of the way. Barely spoke to Mom. She didn't help with anything unless I asked directly. Even then, it was like pulling teeth. One day I asked her to bring Mom a glass of water while I was cleaning up dinner, and she sighed like I asked her to wash the windows with a toothbrush. I worked long shifts, so I asked Melissa to help out while I was gone. Just check in on her, make sure she eats, maybe help her change if she had an accident. She said, "I can handle that." Lies. One Friday, I came home early. Got off at 1 p.m. instead of the usual 5. I didn't tell Melissa, just wanted to surprise Mom and maybe make her smile. I walked into a house that was dead quiet. I called out. Nothing. Then I saw it. Mom's door was locked. From the outside. A simple hook and eye latch I installed months ago for keeping the cats out. But someone had moved it and flipped it around, so it locked her in. I unlocked it and opened the door. She was sitting on the bed, shaking. She had soiled herself. Her pants were wet. Her face was blotchy. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was crying quietly. I asked, "Mom, what happened?" She looked up at me and said, "I rang the bell. Nobody came. I couldn't get out. The bell was on the floor. Unplugged." I was in shock. I helped her clean up, changed her clothes, got her food, made tea, everything. She kept apologizing like she had done something wrong. Then I heard the back door open. Melissa came in holding gardening gloves and a little spade. She looked at me, saw I was in Mom's room, and didn't even flinch. "She's not my responsibility," she said. She said it like she was commenting on the weather. No emotion. No shame. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just looked at her. Something in me snapped that day, not in a rage way. Cold. Focused. Like a switch had flipped. That night, after Melissa went to bed, I went to Walmart. Bought a box of small wireless cameras, motion sensor, audio, night vision. I stayed up until 3 a.m. setting them up. One in Mom's room. One in the hallway. One in the kitchen. One in the living room. The next morning, I left for work like usual. Before I got to the plant, I pulled into a parking lot and checked the live feed on my phone. First few hours, nothing. Melissa walked back and forth, talked on the phone. Ate lunch. Didn't go near Mom. Then Mom rang the bell. Melissa waited 3 minutes. Then she walked into the room, unplugged the bell again, and shut the door. Didn't come back for hours. I watched that feed like a hawk for the next 5 days. And every single day, I saw something that made my stomach twist. She yelled at Mom. Ignored her. Mocked her behind her back. Rolled her eyes when she spilled soup. Shut the door on her face. Told her, "Don't make messes if you can't clean them." She locked her in the room 3 more times. Once, Mom knocked over a water glass, and Melissa grabbed a towel, dropped it on the floor, and said, "Use your foot." Thursday night, I watched the audio feed of her whispering something into my mom's ear that made her sob. I couldn't hear the exact words, but I saw the look on her face. Cruel. Gloating. That was it. Friday morning, I called a lawyer. Divorce attorney. I showed him the footage. He looked at me and said, "You're doing the right thing." I didn't sleep that weekend. I kept smiling in front of Melissa, pretending everything was normal. Every time she spoke, I felt like I was watching a stranger wear my wife's skin. I couldn't believe I'd spent nearly 2 decades with someone like that. Monday morning, I left the house like usual. Melissa was eating toast and scrolling on her phone. I said, "See you later." Then I drove to the county courthouse. At the courthouse, I filed the paperwork with my lawyer. Divorce. Emergency injunction. I had every clip of footage sorted and saved. Melissa didn't know I had weeks' worth of proof. I was calm through the whole process. It was strange. This wasn't like the movies. No big outbursts, no screaming. Just me sitting across from my lawyer, handing over a flash drive, signing forms. But inside, I was boiling. Then I called Adult Protective Services. The caseworker's name was Carla. I gave her the footage too. She asked, "Do you believe your mother is in danger if left alone with your wife?" I said, "I know she is." They said they'd send someone that day. I didn't go home. I waited nearby with the social worker and 2 sheriff's deputies. Melissa came back from her errands around 2:30 p.m., carrying grocery bags and humming. She opened the front door, and we followed her in. I'll never forget her face when she turned around and saw me standing there with the cops. She went pale. The deputy said, "Ma'am, we need to talk to you about a few things." Melissa laughed, actually laughed, and said, "This is a joke, right?" It wasn't. They asked her to step outside. They told her she had to leave the house immediately. Melissa turned to me and shouted, "Are you serious? You're doing this over her? She's not even aware half the time." I said nothing. Just watched her pack a bag. She left in a fury. Cursing under her breath, crying, muttering things like, "You're throwing everything away." She didn't even look at my mom before slamming the door. That night I didn't sleep. Mom kept asking where Melissa was. I just said, "She won't be bothering you anymore." She nodded, but I could tell she was still scared. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. I didn't want to wait. The next morning, I drove Mom to the new place, a private assisted living center about 15 minutes from the house. I'd already toured it. Clean, peaceful, friendly staff. I paid 3 months up front. When we walked in, the nurse greeted Mom by name and took her hand like she was family. My mom smiled. For real this time. Meanwhile, Melissa started blowing up my phone. Calls. Texts. Long emails full of fake apologies. One voicemail said, "I was overwhelmed. You never told me how hard it would be." Another one said, "You're ruining my life over something that isn't even criminal. I didn't hit her." She said that a lot? I never hit her. But you don't have to throw punches to destroy someone. And I had every second of it on tape. That week, her sister called me too. Told me Melissa was falling apart, that I should have talked to her first. I hung up. None of them had checked on Mom in years. Suddenly they were worried. Then came the twist I didn't expect. I got a letter from Melissa's lawyer. She was fighting for the house. Even after being thrown out, even after the abuse report, she still wanted something. Her lawyer said she contributed to the household and had a right to equity. But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had already moved the deed. Years ago, when my dad died, I used the money from his insurance to buy the house. My name only. I had paperwork, receipts, the mortgage contract. Melissa's name wasn't on any of it. She didn't even pay the bills, just grocery runs, gas, and her own phone. I sent all that to my lawyer. Then I went through the cameras again. I found something new, something I hadn't caught before. A clip from 3 weeks ago. Melissa was on the phone. She didn't know the camera picked up sound in the kitchen. She said, "No, I'm not doing this forever. He thinks she's gonna die here. I'll just outwait him. Maybe she falls. Maybe she chokes. I don't care." My hands were shaking watching it. I felt sick. I handed that over too. Things moved fast after that. APS opened a full case. Melissa was formally banned from seeing my mom. My lawyer filed a restraining order. The cops said if she stepped foot on the property again, she'd be arrested. But she still wouldn't quit. She showed up outside the assisted living home one evening. I was inside with Mom, helping her pick out a sweater. The staff came in and said, "There's a woman outside, says she's your wife." I went out. Melissa stood there in the parking lot, arms crossed, red-faced, crying again. "You made me the villain," she said. "But I was just tired. You left me to do everything," I said. "I watched you lock a sick old woman in a room and laugh about it." She didn't deny it. She just said, "You'll regret this." And then she got in her car and sped off. I haven't seen her since. But she's not done fighting. And she's still coming for what she thinks she's owed. A week later, I got served. Melissa was suing me. Not just for the house, but for spousal abandonment and emotional distress. Her lawyer claimed I ambushed her with the deputies, forced her out of her home, and smeared her reputation with edited footage. I sat in my lawyer's office with the papers in front of me, shaking my head. "She's delusional," I said. "She's desperate," my lawyer replied. "People like her always think they can flip the story. Just keep your head down. We have the truth." Still, it got to me. The lawsuit meant depositions, hearings, more delays. Every day that passed was a reminder she was still trying to crawl her way back in through the cracks. But then something happened that changed everything. Carla, the APS investigator, called me. "We've got a development," she said. "Melissa's been investigated before." My heart stopped. Turns out, before we got married, Melissa was engaged to someone else in Nebraska. The guy had a mother with dementia. Melissa moved in with them for a while. 3 months later, the guy broke it off. He never filed any police reports, but Carla said there were concerning details. In the interview notes, they managed to get things like Melissa getting angry when the mother asked too many questions, her refusing to help clean up, her threatening to leave the old hag in the yard. I didn't know any of this. Melissa never mentioned it. I never even knew she lived in Nebraska. She always told me she'd never lived outside Iowa. Carla said, "We believe there's a pattern. And the DA is looking into it." It wasn't just a civil case anymore. Now the state was involved. That gave my lawyer more leverage. We amended the divorce petition with the new information. Elder abuse. Lying under oath. Pattern of neglect. Melissa started getting quiet after that. Her calls stopped. No more emails. No more sister calling me to plead her case. Just silence. But then came the next twist. I got a message on Facebook. It was from a guy named Joel. I didn't know him, but his profile looked legit. He said, "I dated Melissa a long time ago. I saw your story going around online. I think I know what kind of person she really is. Want to talk?" I messaged him back cautiously. We talked on the phone that night. Joel dated her for about a year, back in 2003. He said at first she was great, charming, smart, funny. But when his dad got sick, things changed. He said Melissa turned cold, hated going to the hospital, called his dad a burden, said things like, "It's not your job to be a nurse." Joel finally broke it off after he caught her mocking his dad behind his back. He never told anyone. Just walked away and tried to forget it. But when he saw her face pop up in a local news story online, elder abuse investigation in Cedar Rapids, he recognized her immediately. That's right. The story hit the news. A local paper picked it up once the APS report became public record. It wasn't front page or anything, but it ran in the community section. Cedar Rapids woman accused of mistreating husband's elderly mother, investigation ongoing. They didn't use her full name, but they used mine. And it didn't take long for people to connect the dots. Melissa lost her job at the flower shop. A customer came in holding the article and asked if it was true. Melissa apparently yelled at the manager, said it was all lies. They let her go the same day. After that, she vanished from social media. I found out through a mutual friend that she moved back in with her brother in Des Moines. She was telling people I was abusive, that I was having a midlife breakdown, and turned her whole life upside down for attention. Classic projection. The court hearing for the divorce was coming up. My lawyer said we had more than enough to shut her down. But I still had this gnawing in my gut. Like she wasn't done. Like she still had one last card to play. And I was right. 3 days before the hearing, I got a call from my bank. Someone tried to access our joint savings account, an account Melissa hadn't touched in over a year. The bank flagged it because she tried logging in from a new location and failed the security questions. I locked everything down. Froze all the accounts. Reported the attempt. The next day, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single note in block letters. You always loved her more than me. No signature. I stared at it for a long time. Then I burned it. She was unraveling. The public shame, the loss of control, it was eating her alive. And I knew the ending was coming. One way or another. The day of the divorce hearing, I was calm. Too calm, maybe. I think my body had already burned through all the anger. Now I was just cold. We were in a small courtroom downtown. Wooden benches, high windows, no jury. Just the judge, 2 lawyers, and us. Melissa walked in late. Her hair was a mess. She wore sunglasses even though we were inside. Her lawyer looked miserable, probably knew they had no shot. The judge started by asking for statements. My lawyer laid everything out. Video footage. Adult Protective Services report. Testimonies from 2 nurses at the assisted living center who had spoken with my mom after Melissa left. One of them said Mom had panic attacks any time a woman raised her voice. Then came the kicker. My lawyer played the recording. The one from the kitchen. The one where Melissa said, "Maybe she falls. Maybe she chokes. I don't care." The judge went dead silent after that. I watched Melissa shrink into her seat. Then her lawyer tried to speak. He said Melissa had been under emotional stress. That she never physically harmed my mom. That I had trapped her in a caretaker role without preparing her. The judge cut him off. Literally said, "Enough. I've seen what I need to see." He turned to Melissa and said, "You're lucky criminal charges haven't been filed. This is elder abuse, plain and simple. And you showed zero remorse today." He granted me the divorce. Full and immediate. No division of property. Melissa was entitled to nothing. No alimony. No share of the house. No access to the joint accounts. Then he issued a permanent restraining order. She couldn't come within 500 feet of me or my mother ever again. Melissa just sat there, stunned. I stood up and walked out without looking at her. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't, not yet. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the district attorney's office. They were filing charges. Actual charges. Turns out, Carla from APS pushed for a full case review. The DA found enough to move forward. Neglect of a vulnerable adult, reckless endangerment, unlawful imprisonment. They were minor felonies, but felonies all the same. Melissa was arrested at her brother's house in Des Moines. Mugshot. Orange jumpsuit. Local news picked it up again. Cedar Rapids woman charged with elder abuse after secret camera footage surfaces. It went viral this time. Reddit, Facebook, even a clip on YouTube. People tore her apart in the comments. A month later, she took a plea deal. No jail, but 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and 200 hours of community service at, you guessed it, a senior care center. I laughed when I read that part. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. That same week, I took my mom to a small diner she loved. We sat by the window and ate pancakes. She looked at me, wiped her mouth, and said, "It feels warm again. Like life came back." I nodded. I didn't say much. I didn't have to. But karma wasn't done. A few months later, Joel, the guy who had messaged me before, sent me a screenshot. Melissa had tried joining a dating app. Someone recognized her photo and reposted it with a warning. "This woman abused her husband's elderly mother. Check the news stories before you swipe." She deleted the profile within 24 hours. She tried to get hired at a small business across town. The owner looked her up online. Told her not to come back. She ended up working nights at a warehouse, stocking boxes. Sometimes I think about all the things she said. "She's not my responsibility. You'll regret this. You ruined my life." But I didn't ruin anything. She did that all on her own. As for me, life's different now. I moved into a new place, smaller but warm. My mom's doing better than anyone expected. She gets regular visits, warm food, and care from people who actually give a damn. I've started talking to someone new. Her name's Rachel. She's a nurse. Kind, patient. She met my mom and brought her a scarf she knitted herself. I told her the whole story. She didn't run. She said, "You did the hard thing. You chose love. I don't know what's next. But I know this, no one will ever lock my mother in a room again. And no one will ever mistake my silence for weakness." Melissa thought she could get away with it because she didn't throw a punch. But sometimes, the worst people never raise a hand. They just close a door and walk away. This time, I closed the door and locked it behind her. For good.